Hello, hello, hello. So, you want to make rocks, huh? Well, welcome to tutorial number 38 of our LTH tutorial series, where I'm going to show you quite a simple way, but also in a way advanced way of how to make rocks. For this you will need Rhino, as per usual, but you'll also need Blender. And you can get Blender from their website. It's free to download and you don't need to register or anything like that. It's a very lightweight program. So I'll start with Blender by opening it up. So Blender, actually let me... Wait, my webcam is off, right? Yep. There we go. Hello. Professional production here. So, Blender is, as I said, free, and it's a software that I typically use to really quickly sketch out forms, and it's really good for that. It works mostly with hotkeys rather than commands, which is also, it makes it just faster to model in Blender. So, rocks, right? I will just, with a new file open, I will hit A to select all in my scene. So just A button. Oh, actually we can do it this way. Screencast keys. Turn that on. Let's try again. A. No, that's N. That's A. Yeah. So now you can see it here. I hit A to select everything in the scene. Hit delete to get rid of everything in the scene. Then I will create a new form here, a sphere, by clicking Shift A, going to Mesh and choosing UV sphere, like that. So just a sphere got plopped down right here. Alright, so we have our sphere here, and I will... On the right hand side, go to Modifiers tab. By having it selected, I'll go to Modifiers tab right here, and I'll add a modifier to it, which is called Subdivision Surface. So it's basically like Catmull-Clark subdivision. Oh, it's actually Catmull-Clark subdivision. And I'll increase the subdivision count to, let's go for 3, whatever. So viewport 3. Once you've done that, hit apply. That's it. Now it's basically, if in the top right corner, if I choose viewport shading mode to be wireframe, I can see, how many polygons I have, but let me jump back to regular shading mode. We don't really care about wireframe. Then I will make a few copies of this sphere. So to do that, to copy something in Blender, you just press Shift D to duplicate. And then it kind of duplicates wherever you have your mouse. But if you want to lock it on one direction, be it X, Y, or Z, you just, as you're duplicating, you just press that button. So I will duplicate it along the Y-axis. So I just click Y, and now it duplicates along Y-axis. So I'll just click right there. And I'll do it again. Shift D, Y, there. So we have 3 spheres. That should be good enough. All right. Now I will, in the top right corner, I will select my first sphere. And here in the top left corner, instead of object mode, I will go to sculpting mode. Like so. So now we're in sculpting mode, and usually when you sculpt, you do want to use tablet, but for this task, mouse is more than enough. And basically I'm going to sculpt these spheres into rocks, and it's a very easy thing to do. So on the left hand side you have all of the options for sculpting, and the one that you care about is scrape, this guy right here, scrape tool. I will change the strength of the scrape tool to maybe 2, or maybe 1 is fine as well, we'll see. Also in the top right corner right here, where you see the mirroring options, I will turn off X mirroring so that, you know, my sculpting is not mirrored along the X-axis. And now we can start scraping. So let me increase the radius here. You can also do the same thing by clicking F button and just dragging your mouse to something like that. And I'll just start scraping. So 2 is way too strong. Let's go back to 1. Like that. Yeah, that's good. And basically I just want to create a few planar lines. So I'm just clicking and kind of scraping along there just to planarize some parts of the sphere. Like that. Like that. Maybe this can be even bigger. Like that. Good. Already starts looking like a rock, right? Like that. That's a good angle. That can also be flat. Maybe here we cut away a little bit here, a little bit there. Stronger. Yeah, that's good. That's our first rock. This is a little bit too sharp, so let me just break it down by just adding one more cut there. And I just repeat it for other spheres. So to get out of the sculpt mode, we come back to the top left corner and we go to object mode. Then we select the second sphere, go into sculpt mode and do the same thing. Scrape, 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 scrape. Maybe like that. Yeah, that looks good. Like that. Perhaps something like this. And don't worry about everything being quite spherical. That's absolutely fine. You can scale it to different proportions later on in Rhino. Yeah, looks like a rock. Looks good. Okay, so second rock is done. Back to object mode, third sphere, sculpt mode. Scrape, 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 scrape. Like that. Maybe something like this. That's a spiky boy. You can also grab a elastic deform tool and just kind of make it even more spiky, like that. But for this I want to keep it simple, so I'll just use only one tool, which is scrape. That's enough to create a rock. Like that. Flat bottom. Yeah, seems good. Looks like a rock. Maybe this part can also be a little bit flatter. Okay, so we have 3 rocks now. End of tutorial. No, well, not really. We will do a little bit more with them. All right, so now let us reduce the amount of polygons, because here we still have quite a few polygons. So I'm back in object mode as well. We do have quite a few polygons here and there. Let's reduce them. So I will select my whichever sphere you want. Let's start with this one. I'll select the sphere. I'll go to Modifiers tab again on the right hand side corner. Modifier properties, add modifier, decimate. And I'll just decrease the ratio to something less. Actually, if I turn on the wireframe view, you can see what's happening. So as I'm decreasing the ratio, it reduces the amount of polygons, while still kind of keeping the original form. So 0.01 is too little. I'll just do 0.1. That seems okay. Hit apply. We're done. Same thing here. Decimate. Ratio 0.1. Let's go for that. apply. This one, decimate, 0.1, apply. Okay, we're done. So now I can file, export as OBJ, or doesn't matter, STL, OBJ, whatever. I'll export it as OBJ to my desktop, and I'll just call it rocks export. Export it. Well, export it. Does the calculations, and we are done. So that's it with Blender. So now in Rhino, let us go to import, desktop, rocks export, this guy right here. That's the rocks. Hit open. Yeah, nothing to change here in the settings. We have our rocks. They get imported, rotated, but that's fine. That's easy to fix. Is that upside down? That is upside down. Let's do it this way. Now just move it up, like so. Let's change to shaded view, or even better to Arctic view maybe. Let me go to display and turn off mesh wires. That's the rocks that we have. Cool. Okay, come back to shaded view. Actually, the edges here are kind of in the way. The mesh edges are in the way. So in the shaded view, I will go to display tab and choose mesh wires to be off. So now you can see that all of the polygons are kind of sharp. So I can I can fix that by selecting my meshes and typing in weld and saying that the angle tolerance is 180. That's fine. Hit enter, and now everything is smoothed out. Looks bad though. Looks nicer when it's sharp. What if we do 360? 360 doesn't care. Weld 10. Okay, wait, sorry. Weld 0. Okay, got it. So we do need to weld it with 180. That's fine. So those are our polygon meshes, right? And 180, weld, everything's fine. So now we have our rocks here, and I will use V-Ray to create a material for them so that they render out more nicely. So let me run V-Ray. And this might take a while because I am currently uploading a YouTube video. So it might not work. Oh, it does work. Okay, good. And here I will just create a generic material, which is going to be moss. Create another generic material, which is going to be stone. Then create a third material, which is going to be a blend type material, which is going to be rock. Or let's say rock main, so that rock and stone, we don't mess with that. And then in the settings, I will say that the base of this material is going to be stone, and the top material, top coat, is going to be moss. But also I want the rock to have the stone material, of course, the moss to be on the top of the rock, but on the bottom of the rock I want to always generate a darker version of the stone, you know, because of weathering and so on. So I will duplicate this material, duplicate the stone material, like that, and call it stone dark. Go back to rock main, slap on one more texture, one more coat rather, and actually let's do it this way. So let me delete both of the coats, create a new one. So coat 1 is going to be stone dark, and coat 2 is going to be moss, right? Now let's change their colors. So moss, for now I'll just choose green, whatever. Stone, I will keep it as this gray color. Stone dark, I will make it dark gray color, like that. Let us hit that interactive render button. Oh yeah, now we need to wait like 20 hours until it actually starts rendering, because again my internet is freaking out. While it's doing that, we can start messing around with some textures maybe. Or even better, while it's doing that, I will create a few, let me move this away from 0, 0, 0. I'll create a few flowers, mushrooms and so on, so that these guys are a bit nicer. So I will populate flowers and stuff on top of these rocks. So let's do that. How do we do that? I don't know. Let's start with point at 0. So I'm drawing a curve at 0. Let's go to front view. And I'll just draw out. It's kind of small, little curve here. Like that. That's in front view. That's in perspective view. I'll just have it twist a bit, like that. Okay. And now on top of this curve, I will add maybe. What do we add? Maybe just a circle for now. So I'll choose circle. I'll choose around curve. I'll select the curve and I'll just say add a circle to the end of this curve, like that, and perhaps something like this. Something like this seems to be okay. Then we can start messing around with it, and I'm not going to do, you know, a very complex flower. I'm just going to, or this is not even going to be a flower. This is just going to be something. I don't know what. Definitely not a flower though. So I'll just draw these 3 lines and probably just do something like that. That should be good enough. And then we can I array this number in X direction? No, there's array polar, center of polar array. No, I need an axis. Okay, so we need an axis, and I can create an axis by just taking this circle and extruding it. Extrude curve. We don't need it to be solid, like that, which means that now we can get a center point of the top and the bottom and the bottom and the bottom of this circle, like that. So we have 2 points, meaning that between these 2 points we can draw a straight line segment, which is going to be an axis of our array, right? Should we make this nicer? Maybe we should. So let's make it nicer. That. Something like this. Just drag it out like so. And then something like that. Take this, drag it out like so. Is it already rendering? No, it's not. Let's try pressing that render button again. If it doesn't work, I will need to render this later. Once the upload is finished, but that's fine. We don't really need to, you know, we have the rocks, we can now work with this part first. So now I can delete that frame, and we have our petal here. I will just make maybe a loft between these 2 curves, like that, for some reason. Oh yeah, it's a very small object, so it's freaking out a little bit, but that's fine. And let me now use polar array or array polar and just array it. Number of items, let's just go for 10. Hmm, 10 is a bit too much. Let's go for 6. Something like that. And then we can just kind of rotate them. Oh, rotate them along their axis. So rotate, come on, rotate 3D along their axis from here to here, just to make them a bit nicer, a little bit more varied, like that. Maybe this guy does that. Don't worry about intersections, we don't really, that intersections are whatever. From here to here, let's make it a bit more flat, so. Yeah, that's good. That's actually good. The stem is way too long, I think. So I will just take a point, maybe, or maybe not a point, but rather I'll just take these 2 points, or these 3 points rather, and scale them to this point by 0.2, something like that. It's fine. Pipe start radius 0.1. Ooh, that's 0.1 is not a little, it's a very small radius, or very large radius in here, so 0.01, even less, 0.001. We will scale everything to correct size in just a second. Like that. And radius, probably same. Like that. We have a pipe. And then here on this point, I will just create a quick sphere. Just like that. Maybe a bit larger. Like that. And this is actually good enough, right? We don't need it to be very precise, very detailed. This is more than enough. Let me zoom in and just make a few copies of these petals here. So from that point to curve here, that's one, and let's grab another one here, somewhere here. Of course, these guys will be different proportion and also smaller. So first I will scale them by 0.5, scale that one by 0.5 as well. And different proportion means that we scale in 1D along the axis of this petal. Just do something like that. Like that. Okay, let's take this, or rather let's take all of it and scale everything up. So let's begin with the flower. I will just create a bounding box for the flower and move it, or actually we don't need to do that. We can just take the flower itself, grab its end of the curve here and just move it to 0. And now let's say that the flower size, so if I do a bounding box, I scale it from point 0, I want to say that from this point to, let's say, this point right here, I want the flower to be like 10 centimeters, maybe less. 10 centimeters is quite a lot. Let's do 7, so it's 70 millimeters. Jesus. Yeah, so that's a big flower, meaning those are very small rocks. Let's make them bigger. Each rock bounding box is around 2 millimeters right now. 1.6. Okay. So let's say that each rock is actually around a meter, meaning I need to scale them up by 500, right? 2 millimeters times it would be 1,000. Yeah, something like that. So those are our rocks. They could be actually even bigger. So let's scale them up twice again. Okay, we have the rocks. We have our small flower here, which just does its thing. Right. Now I can convert the flower into a mesh because it's gonna be easier and it's gonna be faster to do. And also, why can't I render? Hello, please let me render. Can't open anything. Everything's lagging. That's fine. We will do it without rendering for now. Cell CRV. I'll select the curves. Don't need them anymore. Just delete them. Cell PT. No PTs, no points are here. So I'll just create materials for this guy. Actually, maybe we want the stem to be thinner because right now it's quite thick. So let me undo that. Delete the stem and create a new one. So pipe 0.1. How does 0.1 is now very small. Let's say 1. So 1 looks like that. Let's do 0.5. Yeah, that seems to be okay. Sorry. Last try. Pipe 0.7. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. So for the petals, let me just make them into a mesh. Okay, delete. So now these guys are meshes, and I'll just join them up, flip them around. These petals are now meshes, and I'll just go to material right here in Rhino, or we can straight up start doing that in V-Ray as well. I'll just create a new material, generic. Hello? So internet is an important thing then, huh? God damn it. Fine, let's do it here first. So I'll just create a new material. Let's say, is there like a regular one? There's no regular one. Sure, whatever. I'll just keep converting everything to meshes then. Mesh, mesh, mesh. Okay. So we have petals, we have the stem with the leaves. I will just join them up. And we have the core, which can also be green, right? Yeah, let's say stem and core both are green. And we have our flower. So I'll just group it and just move it to, well, I can't move it to the side, so I'll just create a new layer and call it flower. Place it here. Okay. Now let's create one more mushroom, which is, I promise is going to be a faster one. So let's just go to front view and let's just draw out a form of a mushroom. So something like that, and then it does its thing here. Okay, and now move this away, move that one here. Yeah, that's about it, right? Yeah. Where is it? There it is. And I will just say revolve axis start 0, and then we just revolve it around, you know, this vertical axis right here. Enter, enter, delete. So we have our mushroom here, and I will just say, let's go for cage edit maybe. Cage edit, control object bounding box, enter, 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 and then let's just change a few things about the proportion of this mushroom. Let me hide the flower. Something like that. Something like that. A little bit more squished maybe. The bottom needs to be a little bit more narrow. Like that. This part could be a bit wider though, like that. And then let's say, let's say all of this is a little bit rotated, like that, a little bit rotated like that. So we have a mushroom. Okay. Hit escape a bunch of times, cap it, we have a mushroom. Now I can convert it into a mesh. Hit OK. We have a mesh mushroom. Now it's time for some grasshopper. So mushrooms and flowers, they will grow on the rocks, of course, and they will just grow on the top where the moss is, basically, right? So I need to reference in these rocks as a mesh, or as, you know, as meshes, set multiple. I need to deconstruct is there a way, wait, if I deconstruct, I have faces and I have normals. Mesh faces 5465, normals 31. Okay, so it's along vertices, huh? Oh man, okay. Instead of deconstructing, we can extract face polylines maybe. So let's first triangulate them to make sure that everything is all of the polygons are triangles and there are no quads here, like that, right? So now we have triangulated, 3 triangulated meshes. Then we extract all face polylines like that. There should be, wait, there should be definitely a faster way. Mesh evaluation, face normals. Yeah, sorry, we just use face normals. My bad. Don't need that. We just use face normals where we have the vectors, and we ask to deconstruct every vector that there is here, because now we get the z component of every vector, which I can show you. And z component is basically, you know, if the vector is looking downwards, it's that value right there. It's a negative value. If it's looking upwards, it's a positive value. You know, so that's how we know if the faces are looking up or down. So we can ask: is it larger? Is the normal larger than 0? Let's say 0 for now. Let's just go for 0. And it gives us a bunch of answers, which we can use to remove some faces from the mesh. So if I go to, I believe it's in the mesh. It should be in the mesh. Let's see. Delete faces, yes. Why are there 2 of them? Doesn't matter which one we use, cull faces or delete faces. I will just use cull faces. So I connect mesh to these 3 meshes to mesh input, and notice how all of this is grafted, and so the output here is also grafted while the meshes are not. So I need to graft them as well right here, like so. So that's just graft tree node, and then I just plug in larger than as a pattern for culling. Look at that. And now I can see that only the bottom faces are being shown, right? So it only gives me the bottom faces. Not good. We need inverted logic. We need only top faces. So I will say, I will right click on the pattern and choose to invert. So now it's only top faces, right? That we care about. And if I say, let me create a slider between 0 and 1. And if I connect that slider to my second number input here and kind of move it, we can discriminate more and more faces that are not perfectly looking up, right? So 0.7 only gives us faces which are pretty much looking upwards. Okay, we can use that. So now we have 3 meshes. Let me flatten this out. 3 meshes with less amount of faces, which we can populate. All 3 of these can be populated with, I don't know, like let's say 10. We can do random. Let's do random. So for that, maybe it's a better idea to not have them flattened out, sorry, keep them grafted. So every mesh that we have here will be populated by a random number ranging between, for this I need to type in a panel, create a panel, ranging between 5 or 5 to, let's say 25, somewhere between 5 and 25 values, with how many values it needs to do is 1. Yeah, so it only gives us 1 number. That's, wait, no, it needs to give us 3 numbers. What do you mean? Yeah, let's just do it this way. List length, like that. So we just say, you know, give us 3 numbers in different branches. So now the random component gives us 3 exactly the same numbers. That's because the seed is a constant, it doesn't change. So it gives us a random value, but it gives us 3 same random values. So we need to mess around with the seed. And to do that, I can just say tree statistics. can measure the statistics of the tree so that I know how many branches I have. I have 3 branches. And then I can create series of numbers. That is not that. Series. Create series of numbers and plug in count to count here. So that it basically just counts 0, 1, 2, right? And we can use that as our seed, but before we plug in, we need to graft it. And then we plug it in. So now it will generate 3 different values. I need to make this into integers, so I just right click on the random component and choose integer numbers. 20, 10, 20. Between 7 and 25. There we go, 20, 11, 21. That's good. So it does generate random values. Now, and we have these points here, right? On each of these points, and let's, how do we do this? Let me just create a mesh component here, connect this to the mesh component, and reconnect everything like so. Just to tidy everything up. This doesn't do anything, this just tidies everything up. So I have a group. And then I will create an XY plane on each of these points, like so, right? So it's a flat plane. And I will come in here, I will select my mushroom, I will reference it in as a mesh, set one mesh, and notice how it's located on the XY plane here, right? So XY, and I will use orient tool to orient this mushroom from the original XY plane to every XY plane here, like that. So now we have a bunch of mushrooms, right? But the problem is that all of those mushrooms are kinda same in size and same in rotation and so on, and it's a little bit too many mushrooms as well. So the distribution of mushrooms is too much. So here I'll just change it. Let's say somewhere between 3 and 12. Even less, 3 and 8. Or 2 and 8. There we go. Just a few mushrooms. Don't need to have a lot of them. Okay, and so scale and rotation. I can do that easily because now I have all of these mushrooms here, so I can rotate them in a plane. So because we have all of the planes here, so that's my mushrooms, that's my plane, like that. And I'll just say that the angle is a bunch of random values, right? Ranging between, well, I need to right click on the angle input and choose degrees, and the range is between 0 to hello. So you want to make rocks, huh? Well, welcome to tutorial number 38 of our LTH tutorial series, where I'm going to show you quite a simple way, but also in a way advanced way of how to make rock have, right? So I'll measure list length and connect it like so. Right, so we have the rotations here. Yeah, we could mess around with the seed as well, but I will not. Whatever. Okay, so that's the second part. That's the rotation part. Okay, and now scaling. So I will scale every rotated mushroom, and the center of scaling is still the same plane. So I just take that plane and connect it to center of scaling. And the factor is going to be, actually, let me just reuse this like that. Random number with list length connected to the number input here. That's my factor. And the scaling factor is going to be somewhere between 0.5 until 2. So we have different sizes of the mushrooms. And that is it, right? For the mushrooms, that is it. I will just join them up. Mesh join. And flatten everything out. We have 3 meshes full of mushrooms. And I can big them out as well, just to show you how they're gonna look like. Hello? Are you? Yeah, they are here. Okay. Let's look at the show. So that's our rocks with some mushrooms growing on the rocks. I like that. Okay, now let's do, and of course you could do, you know, more variations of the mushroom, for sure. So now let's do flowers. Actually, to do flowers, it's quite easy. Let me group all of this and group all of this into one big happy group. Make it white. And just take this whole group, copy, paste, drag it down, right? This is gonna be, the second one is going to be for flowers, for the flower. So I'll choose a flower here, and it's going to be different because it's 2 meshes now for the flower, right? Because it will have 2 materials. Oop. Where did it go? There we go. So it will have 2 materials, but that's fine. I will just set multiple meshes and we'll see what happens. Nothing, because we don't actually see it happening. But the thing that happens is, in some cases, the petals will appear, in other cases they won't, only the stem will appear. That's because it's going to distribute those 2 meshes randomly. You know, it's either a stem with the leaves or the petals, which is not great. So what I'm going to do is I will group the flower meshes into one group like that. Then they get rotated, the groups get rotated, the groups get scaled, and the groups get ungrouped and joined. Wait, let me simplify this and just see. Ah, right. Also, do we need to? Give me a second, I'm thinking. So now we have a data tree, and in each data branch, there's the stem and there's the petals, the flower petals, right? So we need to take all of the flower petals which belong to one rock and place them into a single branch, and then take all of the stems that belong to the same rock and place them into a separate branch. Okay, so for that we will need to do something a little bit more advanced, and it's called, well, it's not that hard to do. It's just you need to know what the heck is going on. It's called the path mapper. And I'll actually just connect the group objects to the path mapper, right click on it, and for now I will just say create trim mapping. No, create reverse mapping, whatever. And double click on it so that we can see what's going on. So here we have branch A sub-branch B, and index, which will need to become index goes here and branch B goes here. So it's like a flip matrix, only more complex. I should do a separate video on this. This would take way too long to explain in this video. Just trust me. Just trust me. And now if we mesh join, if we join them up, still doesn't work. Or does it? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because now if I bake out the flowers... Oh, wait, before we do that, see how the flowers and the mushrooms are in the same position? That's because the population seed is the same. So here I will just change the population seed to 2, for instance. And now they're in different positions, and I will change the range to be let's say somewhere between 10 flowers to 20 flowers, maybe less, 5 flowers to 25 flowers, yeah, something like that. And then we do definitely less scaling. We don't want big flowers here, so we do 1 like that. What else do we do? Rotation is fine. It's very evenly distributed, isn't it? It's very, very evenly distributed. There is a tool that does the distribution non-evenly, like completely randomly. Maybe we should use that. I believe I have it in, let me see. Yeah, I believe I have it here. Right here. So it's a C# code, which you can, by the way, if you just Google populate point cloud grasshopper, you can get this, you can find this C# code easily. So don't think that, you know, oh shit, now only Patreons can use it. Also, if you don't like Googling, by the way, this is the author, really, really cool guy of it. If you don't like Googling, then let me just show you what you need to like type into. If you do C# script, double click on it, you can, you know, add stuff here. And let me just quickly show you what you would need to add. But basically, yeah, just Google it. You know, just Google. It's so easy to just download it. It's on the forums, on the official McNeil forums. So that, scroll down a little bit more. That, scroll down a bit more. That, scroll down a bit more. And that's it. Okay, so let me copy this and paste it here. Of course, as per usual, the Patreons will get this, you know, automatically. So make sure to become a Patreon. I'll just connect it like so, and connect A to the origin, and now it's completely random. Maybe we should do the same thing with the mushrooms as well. So that is the number, The seed we just disconnect, mesh, like that. Okay. And let me get rid of the mushrooms now. Delete. Because we will have new ones. That's our mushrooms, that's our flowers. Now we can actually increase the number of flowers, 15 to 55. Because it's going to be more, randomly distributed. The scaling is still a bit weird, so let me do 0.8 to 1 or 0.7 to 1. Okay, that seems to be better. Group, ungroup, meshes, joined up meshes. Perfect. Bake it out, default. Like that. Take the mushrooms, bake it out, default, like that. Okay, let's see what we have so far. We have all of the petals on one rock as a single mesh. We have all of the mushrooms on one rock as a single mesh. And we have all stems on a rock as a single mesh. So that works. Let me save this real quick, just in case, Tutorial 2020 38. We're blasting through the tutorials here. We have the original flower and the original mushroom here. It's fine. And let me just double check. Maybe it's going to start rendering. That's a no. That's a no. I don't know why, but that's fine. Arctic view. That's how it looks like. Can we do sun in Arctic view? No, we can't. But can we do it in ray traced view? We can, but it gets blown out, huh? What if we do environment, not studio, but rather basic environment? Oh, it doesn't care. Okay. Is there like a... Oh, there is. Okay, so I can just choose Rhino Sky. Sure. Why don't you work? Background, use render settings. Use application settings. It's render settings. But what are my render settings? How do I change the render settings? Render properties? Could it be the render settings, which are actually the render properties? Yes, it is. So instead of solid color, of course, I use 360 environment and I choose Rhino Sky. Hit OK. And now looks like that. Can I do ground plane? I think it crashed. We will come back in a few minutes and continue on this tutorial. Good thing I saved. Okay, where were we? Seems like the internet is working again. Let's just see for sure. Yeah, okay, so it's rendering. So now we can actually finish up the tutorial. That's good. So let's just see. here. Yeah, flowers and mushrooms and crap like that, all of them are kind of working nicely here on the rocks. All right, so now we did so much, and I will just delete everything except the rocks, of course. So let me just select everything except the rocks, and also, of course, the main main flower and main mushroom. Delete that. And for now, let's just create a rock texture. So I'll start rendering like this, perhaps. And we probably, yeah, I really dislike the environment here. So let me just change the environment color to black. So untick that and just GI. I'll just turn on GI environment here and use the studio lighting for the GI environment, like so. Much better. Or we can even do sun. Yeah, screw it, let's do sun. Okay. Or do we do sun? I know, I'm blabbing. Shh. Shh. That's fine. Now, let's not do sun. Let's keep it as it is. So this one, I might even do some spline controls for this, and just increase the values a little bit like that. Doesn't seem like it's working, huh? That's strange. What about here? And then if we come back here, can I increase the GI to like 10? Or not 10, like 2. Let's do 2. Hello? 2? Yeah, okay, so that doesn't work. Let me just clear it and just use a regular GI. Should be okay. Sorry. Okay, so now let us add some materials. So the one that we're going to use is rock main, and for now I'm just going to add on a single rock right here, like that. And it's kind of green, right? So it's basically a mixture of these 3 materials that we did. So now I need to separate them. So stone material is the base, which is basically going to be, everywhere, so we don't touch it. But let me turn off the moss. The stone dark material should only be in the bottom, right? So what I'm going to do is I will go for blending texture slot, and I'll choose fall off map. Fall off map like that. And here, for the fall off, I will choose, instead of perpendicular parallel, I will use towards away, like this. And instead of direction, view, set to view Z, I will use world Z. So now technically, the bottom is always going to be darker, but it's hard to really see. I mean, if I were to go to stone dark and change this to blue, then you would see better, right? It's kind of blue here, but it's also bluish there, which doesn't really make sense. Well, it does make sense. I mean, everything is a gradient with fall off, but we need to fix it. And to do that, to increase the contrast, basically. To do that, I will wrap it in. First of all, I will wrap it in noise map, like that, and I'll just probably adjust the noise a little bit. Do we do it like that? Yeah, let's do it like that. So I'll adjust the noise to 0.3 maybe. Why is there is a weird thing that's going on with it? let's do it this way. Size 0.1, so that's the original noise size. You can see what happens with it. And that should be in color A, not color B, like that. So it's a little bit noisy, and then I will increase the contrast of it. So it's a little bit blotchy like that now. So you increase the contrast by moving these values closer together. And for the size, maybe they are a bit too close. For the size, no, not for the size, for the type, I will choose fractal, so that it's a little bit more edgy. Okay, so we have that going on. So now this blend material is basically, it's a little bit noisy, right? It has noise and it kind of blends more towards the bottom. Then I'm going to right click on it again, wrap it in again, and this time I'm going to wrap it in, what's it called? A spline curve, to be able to control the contrast of it. So I'll select value, and you just kind of click on that line and drag one control point here. Click on that line somewhere here, drag that control point there. And it just does its trick, right? Does its thing, increases the contrast. Then I can actually come back to the noise map and mess around with it, you know, to make less or to make more, right? So I'm thinking about something like that, maybe. Let's increase the iterations. Yeah, something like that will be good. Let's pan around the rock to see it from other angles. Right? Okay. And one last thing, I promise. I know this is very nested, right? Because we have the spline curve, and then inside of it we have the noise, and inside of it we have the fall off. Sorry, there's going to be one more thing that's going to be tied in, and that is going to be, if I right click on that texture slot again, wrap in, I can choose triplanar mapping. So I'll choose that, and then I'll specify the size of my rock. So that's going to be around 2000 millimeters, something like that. And then blending, I will just use 0.2 or something like that. All right, now we're done. I promise. I promise. And then now it's done. It has been done. Okay, so we have that part. Now for the moss, thankfully, we can just take this texture and copy it. Let me turn on the moss and copy it to moss blending, paste as copy, like that. So we have another texture here, and here we will just change it up a bit. So basically what I want to do is wherever I have fall off, I will change the values around. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong that's the wrong texture. So it's here, fall off, change the values around. There we go. So now moss is at the top, but I don't want it to be so much at the top, so I will need to kind of make it a little bit darker, a little bit sharper. But that's fine, that's easy to do. So now let's check out the tiling of the noise map. I think the tiling for this could be a little bit bigger. So I'll do 0.2, and could be a little bit sharper. Something like that, maybe. Yeah, something like that I think works better. And then for the spline curve, the value, I will just say that black value extends longer, right? So that's the dark values, and it's basically just extending much longer, and then we can kind of create a curve like this. Yeah, something like that. This needs to be a little bit sharper, something like that. There we go, something like that. I think we'll do the trick. So we have this setup done, and then all we need to do is just change it up with some textures. So let's do that. Under stone, material, right here, I will, actually you can just download any textures you want. I already have a few, so I'll be using those. I have rock cliffs texture, which looks like that. There we go. And I have moss texture, which you can see it here. It looks like that. So let's do it. Rock cliffs. I'll just add the albedo to the diffuse. I'll add the roughness to the roughness map. I'll go to my bump map. Hello, bump map? Takes a while, apparently. Oh, it updates. Let me stop the render for now. I will go to bump map, change this to normal map, and actually add a normal map. And then one last thing is the displacement, which is, where is it? Am I missing it? Or do we need to wrap it in the displacement? Oh my god. Add attributes, add layer, attributes displacement. Okay, so apparently we need to do it this way now. That's fine. So we add the displacement attribute, drag and drop it in. It's gonna, come on, drag and drop. There we go. And I will say the displacement amount for a 2-meter rock should be like 0, or this is in millimeters, so it should be like 5 millimeters, not more. Maybe 1 centimeter. Let's try 1 centimeter. Who cares? So we have, yeah, I know it looks bad, but whatever. Keep continuity should be turned on. Everything else is whatever. So we have that done. And then actually I'll be lazy, a lazy bastard, and I'll delete the stone dark. And actually I'll just take the stone material that we already have, duplicate it, call it stone dark again. And for the diffuse, I will just wrap it in color correction and decrease the brightness. Oops, not by that much. Something like that, and decrease the saturation, of course, as well. Just of the diffuse map. Come back here, stone dark is dark. Let's go back to rock main, and for coat 1 I will use stone dark. Now we shall press the render button and see what is going to happen. Okay, starts looking like a freaking rock, right? Good. The UVs are all messed up, but that's fine, we will fix that in just a second. Last one is the moss. So for the moss, same approach. Let's stop rendering. Same approach for the moss. Albedo comes in here. What What do we have? AO. Okay, so AO is ambient occlusion. I don't think we have an ambient occlusion attribute here. No, we don't. So I will need to add one. So instead of just using an albedo color as my diffuse, I will use mixed operator. And I will choose my albedo color to be texture B, my diffuse color to be texture A, and operator to be multiply rather than add. That's it. So that works. Then we have roughness, I believe. Yes, we do have roughness. We have normal map as well. Come on. Normal map, which is here. So we do that. And last but not least, we also have a displacement map. So I will add a new attribute here, displacement, turn it on, and drag and drop in the displacement. Then my amount for the mouse displacement is going to be like let's go for a centimeter almost. So it's a fuzzy mouse, right? Keep continuity. I'll keep this turned on. Everything else is good. Yeah. Let's just see it rendering, how it looks like rendered out. There it is. I mean, looks good, I think. Right? Right? That's a wrapper material. Base material. What if I use this? Ignore objects and set GI effect, caustics effect, binding. Yeah, whatever. Delete. So we have our rock texture, and let us fix the tiling of it. And usually I just do it this way. I just select the rock. I turn on texture mapping, box map. That's it. Enter, 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 and that should be okay. If it's too big or too small, I change these values to be bigger or smaller. And that's about it. Okay, and that's how you create a rock. Now let's finish up here. So I will apply the same texture to other two rocks, like so. Looks pretty. Let me just take these three rocks, copy them, make this, or rather, so these three rocks can be rotated around 180 degrees, like that. So already we have different rocks. If you want even more different rocks, you can, you know, scale, 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 and rotate. I mean, you get it, right? You can do a lot of like by just rotating and scaling them, you can create a lot of variation. It's auto saving, so let's just give it a second. So you can create a crap ton of variation. Let's finish up this tutorial. I will create 3 textures. One texture, or materials. One material is going to be flower petals. Another material is going to be flower stem. And third material is going to be mushroom, right? So for the mushroom, I will just use a fall-off map. As we're looking directly into the mushroom, it's going to be orange. As we're looking to the side of the mushroom, it's going to get this kind of citrusy, yellowish glow, right? Maybe a little bit darker, or actually no, I want it to kind of pop. So something like that. Also, that material will be reflective a little bit and have a reflection glossiness of 0.9, so it will look kind of wet, maybe 0.8. Okay, so that's our mushroom. I won't do anything else with it. Then for flower stem, I will just choose a color, don't really care. A little bit more towards green, something dark, something like that. That's my stem. And for the petals, I can use, let's go for also either Fresnel or fall off. I'll just use fall off since we were using it for a while. As you're looking directly into the petal, at the petal it's white, but on the corners of it, or at an angle, looking at it at an angle, it starts turning pinkish. Okay, so we have the three materials done. So now it's time to do it in Grasshopper, right? Set multiple meshes. I just select these 6 rocks here. My meshes are already set up here. So I'm lazy. Usually I would probably bake it out like as separate meshes for separate rocks, but just in case I want to move. Or actually we can do it this way. New layer, flower petals, new layer, flower stems, new layer, mushrooms on rocks. And I'll just give them like a red color so that we know that it's not the original ones that are hidden on the, that should be hidden at 0, 0, 0. Okay, so now let's bake them out. Forget what I said. Bake. These are, wait, what am I dealing with? Ah, right. Let's do trim tree to bring back. So right now the petals and the stems are in separate branches. When we trim tree, they come back to one branch. Trim tree for this. They come back to one branch, and then let's use flip matrix on it. That should be it, right? Because then we can bang, explode the tree, and everything that's here is going to be petals, and everything that is here is going to be the stems. So yes, I know, I'm not explaining this. Sorry about it. I will make another video explaining this part, and then also, of course, all of this. But this is not the time for this particular tutorial. So let me bake this out. All of these are flower petals, and these are stems. Flower stems. That's good. And then we have our meshes here, which are just gonna be 6 meshes. Let me bake them out. Mushrooms on rocks. There we go. That's it for this particular script, so I'll just save it and close it. Don't need it anymore. And now we just add that texture. So for petals, or add those textures. For petals, we add petals texture. For stems, select objects, we add stems texture. And for mushrooms on rocks, we add mushroom texture. Sweet. Let's set that, or actually let me just take all of these, just move them like that. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. And maybe a little bit to the back. Yeah, that's better. Just want everything to be oriented properly. Okay, render. Wait for it to load in all of the texture. Oh, the mushroom is so so intense. But I think that looks good, right? I mean, these look like stones. Let's create an infinite plane and added the stone texture, or we can't add it a stone texture. I just need to add it generic material with a little bit, well, it should be completely black, but it should have a little bit of reflection with a lot of glossiness. Something like that. I mean, it's not bad, for sure. A little bit too pink though. I don't want it to be that pink. Okay, let's change it up a bit. So mushroom is okay. It could be a little bit darker though. So just there, and this part is here. Yeah, just a little bit darker. While the flower petals, I think they should be less pink, so lighter pink. Something like that. Not so intense. Let's press that render button and see. Yep. Seems good. Okay, I'll stop here. I will render it out, of course, as always. By the end of the video you will see how the rendered out result is gonna look like. The final result, how it's gonna look like. But I won't change anything. I'll just change this to 1080 and change this to non-interactive medium. Yeah, everything else I think is fine. Right, and just press that render button, but that's gonna be after I finish the video. The files are going to be available for the Patreons together with the textures and, you know, the 3D models and all of that. So if you're lazy, just consider becoming a Patreon. Otherwise, you can also become a member on YouTube. And there's a lot of different things that I give out to members on YouTube as well. And I'm planning to as well. Other than that, follow me on Instagram, I guess. Subscribe. I'm out. Bye. 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 Bye, bye, bye.